The morning began with the hum of engines, the shuffle of passengers, and the soft voice of the gate agent calling Flight 782 to Los Angeles. Among the travelers was a man in uniform, his flight wings shining and the light streaming through the airport windows. Beside him walked a young girl with dark brown hair tied back in a ponytail, a backpack slung across her shoulders. Her name was Emily Carter, 12 years old, daughter of Captain Thomas Carter, a decorated Air Force pilot now flying commercial after 2 decades of service. Emily had spent her life around planes at the smell of jet fuel, the thrill of takeoff, and the sound of her father's stories about flying in storms and over deserts. But today wasn't one of those thrilling days. It was just supposed to be a simple passenger flight home after visiting her aunt in Denver. Captain Carter wasn't flying today, he was just another passenger, sitting in 14A with his daughter beside him. The cockpit belonged to 2 senior pilots, a Captain Robert Hayes and First Officer Linda Moore, both veterans with years of experience. The Boeing 737 rolled out to the runway under a crystal blue sky. Engines roared, the cabin trembled, and the ground blurred away as the aircraft climbed steadily toward 30,000 feet. Everything was ordinary at the kind of calm flight that lulls passengers to sleep. Emily pressed her face against the window, watching the white clouds drift by like slow waves. "Dad, it's so smooth up here," she whispered. He smiled, adjusting the small leather bracelet she'd given him before his retirement ceremony. "That's because they make it look easy, kiddo. But every minute up here takes training, discipline, and trust." He leaned back, closing his eyes for a moment. Emily smiled too, unaware that within the next hour, those very words would define her life forever. At 10:47 a.m., the aircraft leveled off at 30,000 feet. The captain's voice came over the speaker, calm and steady. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've reached our cruising altitude. We expect smooth air all the way to Los Angeles, with an on-time arrival just before 2 p.m. A ripple of polite applause went through the cabin, then the soft chatter of passengers resumed. The flight attendants began their rounds, pushing carts of coffee and orange juice. Emily opened her sketchbook, drawing the outline of a jet, labeling the wings, engines, and flaps just as her father had taught her. But at 11:03, a faint chime echoed through the cabin, now the kind of subtle tone few passengers notice. In the cockpit, however, alarms flickered across the instrument panel. Captain Hayes frowned. "Cabin pressurization?" First Officer Moore leaned forward, checking gauges. "Readings dropping, a broken bar that can't be right." Within seconds, a shrill warning filled the cockpit. The oxygen masks deployed with a snap. "Emergency descent," Hayes barked, but the words barely left his mouth before his vision tunneled. The human body at 30,000 feet has seconds, maybe 20 before oxygen starvation hits the brain. The captain reached for his mask, his movements sluggish, eyes dimming. Moore tried to radio air traffic control, but her hand trembled, coordination failing. The last thing she saw before blacking out was the flashing red of the pressurization warning. In the cabin, chaos erupted. Masks dropped from the ceiling. Passengers screamed and grabbed for them. Emily, startled, looked to her father, but Captain Carter had already snapped into instinct. He pulled her mask tight and then his own. "Stay calm, Em," he shouted over the rush of air. "Just breathe." They slow and steady. The plane lurched. The descent wasn't controlled anymore. The autopilot had disengaged when the crew blacked out. The nose dipped sharply, engines roaring, drinks flew, luggage rattled, children cried. Captain Carter tried to unbuckle. "I've got TOA," but a violent jolt threw him sideways, slamming his head against the armrest. Emily screamed as he slumped motionless beside her. For a moment, there was nothing but the sound of wind and alarms, then a silence. The plane continued to fall, but steady now, on autopilot hold. The emergency descent had stopped the pressure loss, but the pilots still weren't responding. Emily's heart pounded. She shook her father, tears blurring her eyes. "Dad, Dad, wake up!" He groaned faintly, blood trickling from his temple. His eyes flickered open for just a second. "Cockpit, a broken bar." "A broken bar has to fly." "A broken bar?" She stared at him, frozen. "Me?" His voice was barely a whisper. "You know, a broken bar that controls a broken bar. Trust yourself." Then his eyes closed again. Something inside her snapped into focus. Emily unbuckled, the oxygen mask still clinging to her face. Around her, passengers panicked. A flight attendant shouted, trying to calm them, but even she was trembling. Emily grabbed the nearest attendant's arm. The pilots aren't responding. My dad's a pilot. He told me what to do. I have to get to the cockpit. The woman blinked, stunned. Sweetheart, you can't. But when she looked at the child's eyes, fierce, clear, and determined, she realized there might not be another choice. Moments later, Emily was at the cockpit door. She pounded on it. No answer. Using the emergency override code, the attendant opened it and gasped. Both pilots were slumped over, oxygen masks hanging uselessly, faces pale. Emily pushed past her. We need to put their masks on and get help. She struggled to lift the captain's head, pressing the mask against his face. The hiss of oxygen filled the silence. The first officer's chest rose slightly, a good sign. Okay, Emily muttered, heart racing. You can do this. She had watched her father in simulators, seen him practice checklists. She knew where the radio was, how to read the altimeter, how to engage autopilot, but doing it for real lay in the sky. Alone was something else entirely. Her small hand gripped the yoke, the massive plane steady but heavy under her touch. She pressed the radio switch. Mayday, Mayday, this is Flight 782. Both pilots are unconscious. Please, someone respond. Static, then a crackling voice. Flight 782, this is Denver Center. Repeat your message. Tears welled in her eyes. I'm a passenger. The pilots are out. My dad's hurt. I'm 12 years old and I'm at the controls. A pause. Then calm professionalism. Copy that. Young lady, what's your name? Emily. Emily Carter. Okay, Emily, the controller said, voice gentle but firm. You're doing great. We're here with you. Can you see your altitude? She squinted at the panel. 28,000, a broken bar and dropping a little. Good. Keep your hands steady. Don't pull or push yet. Just breathe. Okay, you're safe. The flight attendants hovered behind her, whispering prayers. Denver Center continued. Emily, we're going to guide you step by step. Do you see the switch labeled A autopilot? Yes. Is it lit? Green. Perfect. That means the plane is flying itself for now. You just need to keep it that way. We're going to connect you with an Air Force pilot who can talk you through a safe landing. Emily blinked hard, trying to stop her hands from shaking. Okay. Minutes later, a new voice joined the radio, strong, calm, steady. Emily, this is Colonel Daniels, United States Air Force. I've got you, kiddo. We're going to get everyone home. Her lip trembled. Your Air Force. That's right. Your dad taught some of my pilots. Actually, you're Captain Carter's daughter, aren't you? Her heart skipped. You know him? Yes, ma'am. And I know he raised a fighter. Now, let's fly this bird together. She straightened in the seat, her father's courage flowing through her veins. Yes, sir. The next hour became a blur of calm instructions, steady breathing, and the constant hum of engines. Daniels guided her through everything, monitoring altitude, switching fuel tanks, checking heading. Down below, emergency services scrambled across Los Angeles International Airport, preparing for an unprecedented event, a commercial airliner flown by a 12-year-old. Inside the cabin, the passengers sat in tense silence. Some prayed aloud. Others watched the tiny figure in the cockpit, unaware that the girl's hands were the only thing between life and death. At 12:31 p.m., Colonel Daniels' voice came again. Emily, we're starting descent. You'll see the altimeter numbers dropping. Keep the nose level. You've got this. She nodded, eyes locked on the horizon. Roger that. Her fingers brushed the throttle levers as she eased them forward slightly, feeling the vibration through her fingertips. The plane responded, gentle and obedient. Beautiful, Daniels said softly. You're flying like a Carter. Outside, the clouds parted. Below them stretched the California coastline, golden and alive. Emily, begin reducing power to idle. We're lining up with runway 25 left. She did as told. The ground grew closer. The city shimmered in the sunlight. Okay, Daniels continued. You'll see 3 green lights say that's your landing gear indicator. Extended now. Click. The gear dropped with a deep rumble. Now flaps 20. She found the lever, moving it exactly as he described. The plane's descent slowed. The runway loomed ahead, wide and steady. Her breath came fast. Sweat trickled down her temples. She could hear passengers whispering prayers. "Emily, listen to me," Daniels said quietly. "You've got one job now. Keep the nose level. When I say, gently pull back. Not too much, just enough to flare. Okay. Speed looks good. You're perfect on centerline. You're almost there. Runway in sight," she whispered. Now a broken bar reset back. The yoke moved under her hands. The ground rushing up, then a heavy thud. The wheels touched. The cabin jolted once, twice, then steadied. The engines roared in reverse thrust, slowing the massive jet down the runway. Cheers erupted in the cabin. The flight attendants cried openly. "Speed's good, Emily," Daniels said through the headset, his voice thick with emotion. "Welcome home." She exhaled for the first time in what felt like forever. The plane rolled to a stop. Sirens blared outside as emergency vehicles surrounded the jet, but she just sat there, staring out at the sunlight reflecting off the tarmac. Behind her, Captain Carter stirred, eyes fluttering open. "Am I a broken bar?" She turned, tears spilling over. "Dad, I landed it." He blinked, confusion melting into awe. "You a broken bar what?" "The plane. You said to trust myself." "I did." He laughed weakly, tears in his own eyes now. "That's my girl." Rescue crews boarded within minutes, rushing to check the pilots, the passengers, and Captain Carter. Reporters swarmed outside, but inside the cabin, time seemed to slow. As they were led down the stairs, Emily held her father's hand. The wind smelled of salt and jet fuel, and the sunlight felt warmer than it ever had before. An officer approached, saluting her with a grin. "Ms. Carter, on behalf of the U.S. Air Force and every soul on this flight, you just did the impossible." She blushed, looking down. "I just did what my dad taught me." He smiled. "That's what heroes always say." Over the next few days, the story spread across the world. Headlines called her the Sky Angel of Flight 782. Pilots from every corner of the globe sent messages. Even the president called to congratulate her. But for Emily, none of it compared to sitting in her father's hospital room the next morning, holding his hand as he told the story again and again to every nurse who'd listen. "She didn't freeze," he said proudly. "She flew that plane better than most adults could." Emily smiled, shy and tired. "I just didn't want to lose you." He squeezed her hand gently. "You didn't. You saved all of us." Weeks later, they visited the flight simulator her father used to train on at the Air Force Base. Colonel Daniels was waiting there, a grin spreading across his face. "You up for one more flight, pilot?" he asked. Emily laughed nervously. "You mean for real?" He motioned to the simulator. "Close enough. Let's see what you've got." She climbed into the seat, fingers brushing the controls. For the first time, she didn't feel like a kid pretending. She felt like she belonged there. "Take us up, Emily," Daniels said. "Let's see if lightning strikes twice." The simulated engines roared to life, screens flickering with endless sky. She eased the yoke forward, hard, steady, mind clear. Outside the control room, Captain Carter watched, pride glimmering in his eyes. When the simulator touched down again 20 minutes later, Daniels turned to him. "She's a natural. You might want to get her signed up early." Captain Carter chuckled softly. "I think she already wrote her own flight plan." And indeed, she had. In the years that followed, Emily's story became legend. Flight schools framed her photo on their walls. Her calm voice on the emergency recording was played in training sessions worldwide, a reminder that courage doesn't come from major rank, but from heart. She would go on to earn her pilot's license at 17, then her commercial license at 21, joining the very airline she had once saved. But for her, it was never about fame. It was about a single moment at 30,000 feet, surrounded by fear when she chose to believe in herself, just as her father had believed in her. One evening, years later, she took her first official flight as captain. The sun set beyond the clouds, painting the sky in gold and crimson. She reached up, touching the small leather bracelet on her wrist, the one her father still wore too. Her co-pilot looked over. "You ready, Captain?" She smiled. "Always." The engines roared, the runway blurred, and the aircraft lifted smoothly into the sky. From the cabin below, a little girl watched through the window, wide-eyed, clutching her own small backpack. She turned to her mother. "Mom, do you think I could fly one day too?" Her mother smiled. "You can do anything, sweetheart." Just like her. High above the clouds, Captain Emily Carter adjusted the controls, her voice calm and confident as she radioed Air Traffic Control Tower. "This is Flight 782 Heavy, climbing through 15,000, smooth skies ahead." And somewhere deep inside her, she still heard her father's voice say steady, proud, unshakable. "Trust yourself, kiddo, always." The jet sliced through the fading light, leaving a gleaming trail against the horizon, a symbol of courage, love, and the power of one 12-year-old girl who refused to give up when the sky itself seemed to fall.